Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to the Reverend Duncan, the SPB, the Pipe Major and the Bugler, and all those Somme associations and societies here today. Unfortunately, due to COVID restrictions last year and this year, we were unable to have our memorial service and parade in February, commemorating the Ulster Division and those men from West Belfast who paid the ultimate sacrifice serving our country during the Great War, 1914-1918. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we will also celebrate and give thanks to the creation of Northern Ireland in their centenary year. It's 21 years since the formation of the first Shankill Somme Association. Our members are still committed to the remembrance of the 36th Ulster Division and the 9th Battalion of the Royal Irish Rifles, who were the West Belfast Volunteers. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we'll also remember all the men and women from Ulster who served their country and paid the supreme sacrifice in the many wars and the conflicts that it's had to endure. We'll reflect upon the Battle of the Somme, now 105 years ago, where the 6th Ulster Division would be immortalised by their actions and bravery on that battlefield in France. On the Somme's opening battle on the 1st of July, within the first 2 days, the battle would see 5,500 men of the Ulster Division either killed, injured or missing. And every part of Ulster would be affected by that. So also, not forgetting the families that were left behind. We'll reflect upon their pain and suffering, their hardships, and what they had to endure during those 4 long years of war. Over 32,000 men from all parts of this province would become casualties, and over 1,600 men from this area alone of the Shankill would not return. I know that we in the first Shankill Somme Association and everyone watching and listening today would agree we owe a great deal of debt and gratitude to these brave men and women. So today, ladies and gentlemen, we in the first Shankill Somme Association will state once again, they will not be forgotten.
Ladies and gentlemen, Reverend Sir, distinguished guests, I've been asked to speak briefly on the formation of Northern Ireland and its future. This should be a time of joy and celebration, and to some it is. In any other place in the world, the government would have the streets decked out with flags and bunting for the special year, with special celebrations and festivities for all, but not here. It can't be denied that these are dark times. I believe at this very moment we are facing a conspiracy, possibly 50 years in the making. The conspirators include the Irish Republicans, the Irish State, successive British governments, the European Union and the United States, whose new president's first loyalty is to the Vatican. Make no mistake that arch liar and cheat Boris Johnson would surrender us for as little as a trade deal. At the very moment of our centenary, they are making final pushes towards betrayal. Born out of the Home Rule crisis and the end of the First German War, and because of a murderous campaign, the best solution to the so-called Irish question would be partition. Often quoted as the partition of Ireland. Now, what might you ask is in a word? It turns out quite a lot. Words mean everything, and they can, and often are, used by scheming politicians to pervert the truth. The fact is, Ireland was not partitioned. The United Kingdom was partitioned. 26 counties of this United Kingdom, it was decided, will form an Irish Free State, with the disapproval of many citizens, particularly in Donegal, Monaghan and Cavan. So the fact is, they left the British family of nations. We didn't leave them. It was on the 3rd of May 1921 that the Northern Ireland State was formed. It was not by any means a peaceful birth, as many had hoped. Republican violence in the new Northern Ireland was a feature from day one. And coupled with the continuing pogroms against the Protestant people within the new Irish Free State, it foretold of a difficult future. And a simple look at the statistics tells the story. In 1911, the Protestant population of the lost 26 counties was 10%. However, by 2011, it was 3.2%. That is a drop of 60%. In the same time period, 1911 to 2011, the Roman Catholic population of the 6 remaining British counties rose from 35% to 45%. Remembering that within the first 2 years of the birth of the Irish Free State, 200 Protestant men, women and children were brutally murdered by Republican death squads. The question must be asked, which of the newly formed political entities was kindest to its minority community? Northern Ireland, however, prospered, and despite all the odds, due to our legacy of manufacturing, shipbuilding, linen, etc., but not least because of our favourable position within the UK trading system. Our favourable position within the UK trading system. However, the worldwide recession in the 1930s affected everyone. The Irish Republic, with its mainly agriculturally based economy, was particularly vulnerable and exposed. The Second German War came. Loyal Ulster answered the call. ERA chose neutrality. And just as before, when brave Irishmen were fighting and dying for European freedom from German domination, Irish Republicans sided with the enemy. 9 days before the Second World War was declared, Irish Republican Nazi sympathisers launched what they called Operation S, which stood for sabotage. They exploded a series of bombs in British cities, the first being Coventry, killing 5 people, including 2 women and a child. 21-year-old Elsie Ansell was to be married a fortnight later. She was only identifiable by her engagement ring. The IRA declared they did it to show solidarity with the German cause. This is all before one German bomb fell. At the war's end, after 75 million dead, after the Holocaust, after the destruction of Europe, by the most evil man the world had yet seen, the Irish did the following. The 2nd of May 1945, the Irish Prime Minister, Eamon de Valera, visited the German representative in Dublin, and he signed, on behalf of the Irish people, a book of condolence for the death of the tyrant Adolf Hitler. A despicable act not repeated by any other neutral nation in the world. After protracted Republican campaigns, we are still here. We are still strong, and we face new challenges. It was said by Thomas Jefferson that when injustice becomes law, resistance is a duty. Please remember that phrase. Republican leaders called the Good Friday Agreement not a victory, but a step along the way. And from their perspective, they're quite right. It's a pity the Unionist politicians haven't seen that. The Northern Ireland Protocol is another step. The Irish Language Act is yet another step. And I predict that London will force the Irish Language Act upon us in the very near future. I further predict that self-serving and cowardly Unionist politicians will do absolutely nothing to prevent it. Again, I say, when injustice becomes law, resistance is a duty. We here are Ulster Scots. We have been a distinct people for more than 400 years. We have our own traditions and our own culture. The establishment of Northern Ireland was not a beginning for us, but it was a stage in the history of a proud people. Within the last 100 years, we have developed a distinctly Northern Irish culture and identity, as distinctive as the Welsh and the Scots. The Irish language is a wonderful thing. It's poetic and it's ancient. But it's not my language. I have a language of my own. Irish music is known the world over. It's melodic and it's beautiful. And it's there for me to enjoy. And I do enjoy it. But it's not my music. I have music of my own. The whole of Irish culture, it must be recognised, is rich and meaningful. So is Islamic culture. So is Spanish, French and German culture. But they're not mine. I have a culture of my own. We here are involved in a clash of cultures. And only one of them can win through. Germany tried to force Germanic cultures in all of Europe not all that long ago, and the people of Europe collectively stood up and said no. German Nazi thugs tried to force their ideals on Britain, and the British repelled them. And likewise, Irish thugs, undoubtedly sons of Satan all, are trying to force Irish culture upon us. And we must do all in our power to resist it, or it will be the death of all we hold dear. We are not Irish, dear friends. No number of bullets or bombs, no amount of incense burnt, no amount of beads rattled, no amount of praying to long dead men whom a red slipper wearing weasel decided was a saint will make us Irish. Not if we don't choose to be so. We are and we must be the masters of our own destiny. And to those who say it's over, we're lost, I say this: stand back, stand down. We don't want your company, and we will not want your company in the struggle ahead. This ground is holy ground, sanctified by blood and by tears. The blood shed from the very earliest days until quite recently, some of it on this very road. The tears shed by countless mothers for their lost sons and daughters. Anyone who so readily will abandon the motherland is not fit for company of heroes. To the young people here today, I say this: the men here assembled are pacifists. Many men here have served their country in the armed forces. And no man loves peace more than a soldier, or a man who has seen war at first hand. But one thing is sure. A sober man is better than a drunken man. A fit and healthy man is better than one that isn't fit. A man at one with his faith and his God will be what's needed no matter what comes to us. So I say to you, the young people assembled here, avoid strong drink, stay fit, stay healthy, attend your church. If you don't belong to one, find one. Go inside and get to know the living God, because He will be our strength and our refuge. If you want to serve your Ulster best and to serve your God best, do these things. Or as was better put by better men than me many, many years ago, use all your power and use all your might to serve both God and Ulster. Our cause we must maintain, because it is a just cause. And there comes a time in every generation of men that challenges must be met if we are to call ourselves men. Self-reliance, forbearance and faithfulness. I believe this is our time. Injustices are being perpetrated against you. These injustices are being enshrined in law at this very moment. When injustice becomes law, resistance is a duty. And the question is very, very simple. Will you resist? And will you do your duty? Thank you.
Okay, Sam, thank you very much indeed. And from previous occasions being here and joining you for this, it's some new faces, and I'm saying the Shankill Protestant Boys band there. So very welcome, gentlemen. It's lovely to see you here. It's lovely to see there's some young people with you as well, and that's really important, isn't it? That they start to learn about remembrance and the reason that we do this. And I believe there's some folk from Shankill Somme Association. Am I right with that? There's a few nodding heads. They're very welcome. Good to see you here as well. This, of course, is something of a delayed event, double delayed event in a sense, because there was plans for a celebration. And that celebration was what Mr. Black was talking about, the 100th anniversary of Northern Ireland, the formation of Northern Ireland, but also a commemoration that normally February time there would be an act of remembrance here in this site, and we've had to delay it for the obvious reasons. So it's lovely to be here and to catch up with both of these things. When I think about Northern Ireland, now some of you are going to get shocked when you hear this. I'm not actually from Northern Ireland. Accent gives me away every time, but I've been here long enough that I love this place. It's our wee country, isn't it? That's what we say, and I think that is my wee country. I'm part of it, and when we think back on the formation of Northern Ireland, Mr. Black mentioned 31st of May 1921, that was the Government Act that brought Northern Ireland into being. But also on the 22nd of June 1921, King George was over here to open the Parliament. And lo and behold, 100 years on, Her Majesty the Queen will be over at a special service in Armagh. But King George, at that opening of Parliament, let me just quote something he said here. He said, "I pray that my coming to Ireland today may prove to be the first step towards the end of strife among her people, whatever their race or creed. In that hope, I appeal to all Irishmen to pause, to stretch out their hand of forbearance and in conciliation, to forgive and to join in making for the land they love as a new era of peace, contentment and goodwill." It's a lovely picture for a journey to be on, but I think we've still got a fair way to go with it. You know, there was one of the other Somme associations that had a website up, and they had on there the stuff they were doing for school children, and just teaching them about what we're celebrating here. And they asked the question of our school kids, "I love Northern Ireland because," and then the children had to complete it for themselves. "I love Northern Ireland because." So there's a wee question for us all, isn't it? What do we love Northern Ireland for? But the second thing we're here for is this remembrance, act of remembrance that we'll be going into in a few moments. As we gather an act of remembrance, of course, we're remembering those who have fallen in service of their countries throughout the years, including World War I, World War II, and many other conflicts as well. But this, the First Somme Association, really have a very specific focus on the 36th Ulster Division. So really that's sitting at the heart of it. There was something I'd mentioned on one of my previous occasions with you. It was a quotation from a historian in his book, The First Day of the Somme. And specifically of the 36th Division, he wrote this: "Up sprang the Ulstermen, and without forming into waves adopted by other divisions, they rushed the German front line." And I thought that was just a lovely picture of the folk of Northern Ireland. Just that sense of independent spirit, that while all the others were marching up and getting mown down by machine guns, these lads they just went for it. And in fact, he went on to write, "By a combination of sensible tactics and Ulster dash, the prize that eluded so many, the capture of a long section of the German front line, had been accomplished." That was our forebears. That's the people that we seek to remember. Sam mentioned some of the numbers that were involved, and on that day, the first day of the Somme, from the 36th Ulster Division, 5,500 officers and enlisted men killed, wounded or missing. And a war correspondent on that day wrote of the 36th Ulster Division, "Their attack was one of the finest displays of human courage in the world." And of 9 VCs given to British forces in the battle, 4 were awarded to soldiers of the 36th. So there's a wonderful tradition, a wonderful history, and a wonderful thing to celebrate for yourselves there as Somme associations. Do you know, there's just forgive me as I just sort of mention this here, I know I'm taking up time, but there's a phrase that we often associate at a time of an act of remembrance, and there used to be a variation of it actually in one of these murals behind us here. "Greater love has no one than this, that he lay down his life for his friends." And that quotation, you hear it every Remembrance Sunday. That quotation comes from the Gospel of John in the Bible. It's taken from the words of Jesus himself as he was talking to his disciples. And although his disciples didn't really appreciate what he was trying to say at the time, he was talking about his own death, his sacrificial death on the cross, which bought for us freedom from sin from the law of sin and death forever. I suppose it's a sad thing that the sacrifice of those who have died in the wars, it wasn't what we call once for all, but that sacrifice of Christ was once for all. And we think of the sons and the daughters of this land that have continued to pay the price for our freedoms. First World War, Second World War, Korea, Aden, Malaya, here, Iraq, Afghanistan, and that doesn't name them all. Jesus' death, though, was once for all. And through his death and resurrection, we may know life, life in its fullness, and that heavenly hope of eternal life. And Mr. Black mentioned, if you haven't got a church, find one. My church is the one that you're looking at there, folks, right just behind us. And we don't have far to go to another church just round the corner, St. Matthew's. The doors would be open. Trust me, you'll be very welcome. So as we now enter into our act of remembrance, the laying of the wreaths, the 2-minute silence, these traditional things, and silence is a precious thing, and we use it to remember with gratitude and thanksgiving those who have laid down their lives for their friends. And so let us remember before God and commend to his sure keeping those who have died for their country in war, those whom we knew and whose memory we treasure, and all who have lived and died in the service of mankind.
They shall grow not old, as we who are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them. When you go home, tell them of us and say, for your tomorrow we gave our today. And so, my friends, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he lift the light of his countenance upon you and give you peace. And the blessings of God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit remain with you now and forever. The National Anthem.